Weaving fun. Explore and observe. Let us first look at the procedure to build a weaving frame. The weaving frame is very easy to make. There are just 4 parts that you need to assemble. Look at these wide sheets. Each wide sheet has 2 slits. Take one wide sheet and insert a thin bar into one of the slits present in the wide sheet. Similarly, insert the other thin bar into the other slit present in the same wide sheet. Insert the free ends of the thin bars into the slits present in the other wide sheet. Now, hold the rectangular frame and press both wide sheets so that the frame becomes rigid and firm. Your weaving frame is now ready. Explore it. Now that we have built a weaving frame, let's learn how to use it for weaving yarn. To begin, unwind one of the woolen threads. This woolen thread is going to be our yarn. Now, look at the wide sheets in the weaving frame. Both sheets have a line of screws fixed on them. Tie one end of the thread to the screw present at a corner on one of the wide sheets. Next, run the thread from one wide sheet to the opposite wide sheet and loop it around the screw so that it is exactly opposite the screw where the thread is tied. Make sure the thread is tightly stretched between the 2 screws. Pull the thread if it is not tightly stretched. Then, run the thread back to the first wide sheet and loop it around the next screw. Every time you loop the thread around 2 opposite screws, tightly stretch the thread. Similarly, keep running the thread from one end to the other by winding it around the screws. Observe that we are arranging these yarns lengthwise on the weaving frame. These yarns arranged along the length of the weaving frame are called warp. Once the warp is complete, tie the thread to the last screw at the corner and cut the extra thread with scissors. Look at the wrap. If the distance between the yarns of the warp is unequal, adjust them so that they are spaced equally. Next, we will weave the yarn across the warp. For this, we need to take another long thread and tie its one end to the warp near any one of the corners and the other end to the eye of a needle. Next, pass the needle across the warp by leaving alternate threads of the warp above and below the needle. Now, pull the needle from the other end of the warp. Pull the thread as well. Next, use a comb to pull the interlaced thread to one side. The yarn that we are weaving across the warp is called weft. Similarly, pass the needle and thread in the opposite direction across the warp. Now, repeat the process of interlacing threads of warp and weft. You need to weave till the interlacing is complete. When the interlacing of the warp and weft yarns is complete, remove the warp yarns from the screws on both wide sheets. Finally, pull each thread towards one end. The plain weave fabric is ready. Isn't weaving very easy? Now that you know how to weave plain weave fabric, let's weave fabrics of different patterns. Can you think of some new patterns for weaving fabric?